Good morning, and let me start by saying something that might completely change how you think about living alone as an older adult. The biggest threats to your health and independence are not the ones your doctor warned you about at your last checkup. They are quiet, they are ordinary, and most of them are hiding in your daily routine right now. I'm Dr. Omer. As a physician, my work is grounded in evidence, critical thinking, and a careful evaluation of facts. I believe in explaining complex issues by examining the available data, verified sources, and the broader context rather than speculation. Today, I want to walk you through what's really happening here, why it matters, and how the evidence helps us understand the bigger picture. A landmark study published by the National Institute on Aging followed over 14,000 adults aged 65 and older living independently. What they found was staggering. The seniors who avoided these specific behaviors were 61% less likely to be hospitalized within 5 years, and they reported quality of life scores that rivaled people a full decade younger. 61% years, that is not a rounding error. That is a transformation. Now, I have to warn you early because number 2 on today's list genuinely shocked me when I first encountered the research, and I have been a physician for over 27 years. It involves something almost every older adult living alone does every single evening, and they have no idea it is quietly dismantling their safety, their cognition, and their independence. Stay with me all the way through, because that one could genuinely change your life. Before we dive in, I want to hear from you. Drop your age in the comments and tell me, are you currently living alone or thinking about it? I read every single comment on this channel, and your responses shape what we cover next. Now let's get into it. We are counting down from 12 to 1, ranked from important to absolutely critical. Number 12 is skipping your morning light exposure. Here is something they never told you in any pamphlet about healthy aging. The first 30 minutes after you wake up may be the most biologically powerful window of your entire day. And most older adults living alone waste it completely, walking from the bedroom to the kitchen in artificial light and never once stepping outside or near a bright window. A research team at Harvard Medical School found that adults over 65 who received less than 30 minutes of natural morning light had cortisol rhythms that were significantly disrupted, leading to poorer sleep, higher inflammation markers, and faster cognitive decline over a 3-year follow-up period. After about age 65, the lens of the human eye yellows and thickens, meaning your eye lets in roughly 50% less light than it did when you were 40. Your brain's master clock, called the suprachiasmatic nucleus I, the internal timer controlling your sleep, hormones, digestion, and immune system psi, becomes harder to calibrate without strong morning light signals. Think of it like a radio trying to pick up a station with a weak signal. The programming is there, but the connection is fuzzy. Make morning light a non-negotiable ritual. Spend at least 20 to 30 minutes near a bright window or step outside and pair it with your morning tea or coffee. In winter, a 10,000 lux light therapy lamp at eye level during breakfast replicates the effect beautifully. Number 11 is eating meals in complete silence and isolation. This one sounds almost too simple to matter, but a 10-year longitudinal study by researchers at the University of Illinois tracked eating habits and health outcomes in over 3,000 adults aged 60 and older. Those who consistently ate alone in silence, with no social engagement before, during, or after meals, were 41% more likely to develop depression and had measurably worse nutritional absorption profiles compared to those who incorporated even minimal social connection around mealtimes. The mechanism is fascinating. Eating in a positive, engaged emotional state activates the parasympathetic nervous system, what most people call the rest and digest mode. When that system is active, your stomach produces digestive enzymes more efficiently, your intestinal lining absorbs nutrients more readily, and your body gets more value from the food you eat. In older adults specifically, this matters enormously because something called anabolic resistance, the gradual decline in your body's ability to convert nutrients into muscle, bone, and cellular repair, begins accelerating after age 70. Call a friend or family member during at least one meal per day. Keep the television on a program you genuinely enjoy, or join a virtual meal sharing group available free through many senior community centers. Number 10 is neglecting your door and floor safety. A patient of mine, Margaret, 78, from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, told me she had lived in the same home for 41 years and never once thought about her floors or doorway thresholds as health risks. Then one Tuesday morning, she caught her foot on the small lip between her kitchen tile and living room carpet and fractured her hip. She spent 11 weeks in rehabilitation. She told me afterward, and I will never forget this, that no one had ever treated those little strips of flooring like the life-altering hazards they are. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, falls are the leading cause of both fatal and non-fatal injuries in adults over 65. 1 in 4 Americans aged 65 and older falls each year, and the risk of a second fall within 6 months is dramatically elevated, often because the fear of falling itself changes your gait and reduces physical activity. Walk through your home with the eyes of a safety inspector. Remove or tape down every loose rug. Install grab bars beside your toilet and inside your shower. Replace round doorknobs with lever handles, and place non-slip strips at every threshold. These are not admissions of frailty. They are acts of intelligent self-preservation. Number 9 is taking medications without a structured system. Medication errors are one of the leading causes of emergency room visits among older adults living alone. A study from the Journal of the American Geriatric Society found that nearly 40% of adults over 65 make at least one significant medication error per week, including missed doses, double doses, and dangerous combinations with over-the-counter supplements. When you live alone, there is no second set of eyes, no one to notice you forgot your blood pressure pill or took your evening dose twice. After age 65, your liver and kidneys process medications more slowly, which means errors cause disproportionately large physiological consequences. Invest in a weekly pill organizer that separates morning and evening doses, set phone alarms with specific labels rather than generic reminders, and bring every medication, including vitamins and herbal supplements, to your next appointment for a full medication review. That review alone has been shown to reduce adverse drug events by up to 35%. Number 8 is keeping your home too warm. Many older adults keep their homes warmer than optimal because they feel cold more easily, and that feeling is real. After age 60, your circulatory system becomes less efficient at directing warm blood to your extremities, so your hands and feet genuinely are colder. But chronically overheating your living environment carries its own significant risks. Research from the University of Exeter found that adults who slept in rooms warmer than 75 degrees Fahrenheit experienced measurably worse sleep quality, reduced slow-wave deep sleep, and elevated nighttime cortisol levels. Deep sleep is when your brain flushes out cellular debris through the glymphatic system. Think of it like a dishwasher that only runs after midnight. If the conditions are wrong, the cleaning cycle never completes, and this accumulation of cellular waste has been linked to cognitive decline. The ideal sleeping temperature for adults over 65 is between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Use warm, layered bedding rather than cranking the thermostat, and wear warm socks to bed, which studies show helps your body reach its optimal sleep temperature faster by facilitating heat dispersal from the core. Number 7 is going days without touching or being touched. One of my patients, Robert, 81, from Spokane, Washington, was a retired engineer and extraordinarily self-sufficient. He told me during a consultation that he sometimes went 8 or 9 days without any physical contact with another human being, no handshakes, no hugs, no hand on the shoulder. He felt fine mentally, he said, but his inflammatory markers told a different story. A study from the University of Miami's Touch Research Institute found that adults over 70 who experienced regular physical contact, even non-intimate touch like a handshake or a pat on the arm, showed significantly lower levels of cortisol and interleukin-6, an inflammatory protein associated with cardiovascular disease, Alzheimer's disease, and accelerated cellular aging. When you live alone, you have to be intentional. Schedule physical social activities like gentle yoga classes, dance groups for seniors, or volunteering alongside others. Consider getting a pet. Multiple studies, including one from the University of Missouri, have shown that stroking a dog for just 10 minutes reduces cortisol and increases oxytocin, with particularly pronounced effects in older adults. Number 6 is ignoring your sense of purpose. Purpose is not a soft concept. It is a measurable biological force. A landmark study from Rush University Medical Center in Chicago followed over 1,500 adults aged 70 and older for 7 years. Those who scored highest on a standardized purpose in life scale were 2.4 times less likely to develop Alzheimer's disease, had lower rates of stroke, and lived an average of 7 years longer. 7 years. That is not a motivational poster statistic. That is science. When you live alone, especially after retirement, the external structures that gave your days meaning gradually disappear. Without deliberate replacement, a slow physiological decline can follow, as your body at a cellular level responds to perceived irrelevance with elevated inflammatory cytokines and reduced immune surveillance. Teach something, mentor someone, join a civic group, start a container garden, write your memoirs, volunteer at a library or hospital. The content of the purpose matters far less than its consistency and depth. Number 5 is living with chronic low-grade dehydration. A patient of mine, Elena, 74, from Phoenix, Arizona, came to see me complaining of persistent fatigue, afternoon confusion, and recurring urinary tract infections. She was drinking roughly 4 to 5 cups of fluid per day, but her thirst signals had long since stopped working reliably. This is one of the most underappreciated aspects of aging physiology. A study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that older adults register thirst at a much higher level of dehydration than younger adults, meaning that by the time you feel thirsty, you are already meaningfully dehydrated. Even mild dehydration of just 1 to 2% of body weight can impair cognitive function, increase fall risk, cause constipation, and accelerate kidney stress. Drink 8 to 9 cups of fluid per day, prioritizing water, herbal teas, and broth. Set a timer every 90 minutes as a hydration reminder and keep a measured water bottle visible on your kitchen counter because visual cues dramatically increase compliance. Pair your habit with a small pinch of sea salt or an electrolyte supplement because aging kidneys become less efficient at retaining sodium and plain water alone is retained less effectively. Number 4 is avoiding strength training because you believe it is for young people. I hear this every week, and it needs to stop. The idea that strength training is for athletes or younger bodies is one of the most damaging myths in modern medicine. A meta-analysis published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine reviewed 49 studies involving adults aged 65 to 90 and found that progressive resistance training improved functional strength by an average of 33%, reduced fall risk by 40%, and improved markers of bone density, blood sugar regulation, and depression. After age 50, adults lose roughly 1 to 2% of their muscle mass per year in a process called sarcopenia, and after 65, that rate accelerates. Muscle is your metabolic engine, the primary site of glucose uptake, meaning less muscle equals worse blood sugar control and higher diabetes risk. Muscle also produces anti-inflammatory compounds called myokines when it contracts, protecting your brain, your heart, and your immune system. Resistance bands, light dumbbells, and bodyweight movements like sit-to-stands, wall push-ups, and step-ups are sufficient. Aim for 2 to 3 sessions per week and follow each with a protein-rich meal within 2 hours. Because after age 70, the muscle protein synthesis response is blunted, you need both exercise and nutritional stimulus together to maximize the signal. Number 3 is letting your home become socially unwelcoming. This sounds almost philosophical, but stay with me because the research is extraordinary. A study conducted by Brigham Young University and published in PLOS Medicine analyzed data from over 3.4 million participants and concluded that social isolation carries a mortality risk equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes per day, not per year. When you live alone and gradually stop inviting people in, stop hosting, and stop making your space a place others want to visit, you begin a slow slide into social isolation that is extraordinarily difficult to reverse. The home environment itself begins to reflect and reinforce that isolation. Comfortable chairs disappear, the dining table becomes storage, the guest room becomes a storage room. Unconsciously, the message, both to yourself and to visitors, is that connection is no longer expected here. Push back on this deliberately. Keep a welcoming seating area always ready for guests. Schedule one in-home social event per month, even if it is just 2 neighbors for tea, and keep your space tidy enough to welcome an unexpected visitor. The psychological state of readiness for connection has been shown to increase actual social engagement. Number 2 is relying on emergency responses rather than prevention systems. Here it is, the item I promised you at the start, the one I believe is the single most underappreciated threat to independence for older adults living alone. Most older adults have made some version of the same plan. If something goes wrong, I will call for help. They have a cell phone, maybe a family member's number on the fridge, maybe a neighbor who checks in, and they believe this constitutes a safety plan. It does not. A study from the University of Toronto followed 1,200 adults over 70 living alone for 4 years. In genuine medical emergencies, including falls, cardiac events, strokes, and sudden severe illness, The median time between the event occurring and help arriving was 4.6 hours when the plan relied on reactive communication. In the case of stroke, where the treatment window is roughly 3 hours for clot-dissolving therapy, that gap is the difference between full recovery and permanent disability or death. The solution requires shifting your mental model from response to prevention and detection. Invest in a medical alert device and wear it consistently, including in the shower, where a disproportionate number of falls occur. Set up daily check-in systems using apps like Snug or Life365 that alert designated contacts if you have not checked in by a set time each morning. Tell your doctor you live alone so that discharge plans, medication instructions, and follow-up protocols are calibrated accordingly. And have an honest, detailed conversation with at least 2 people in your life about exactly what to do if you become unreachable. This is not pessimism. This is the opposite of pessimism. Preparing your safety architecture is what allows you to live freely and confidently alone, because you know the net is in place. Number 1 is abandoning your brain's need for novelty and learning. Of everything on this list, the research behind number 1 is the most breathtaking and the most hopeful. A study from the University of Texas at Dallas, published in Psychological Science, divided adults aged 60 to 90 into groups. One group learned a completely new, cognitively demanding skill, digital photography, quilting, or a musical instrument. A second group engaged in familiar, comfortable activities like reading or crossword puzzles. A third engaged in purely social activities. After just 3 months, the group learning genuinely new skills showed improvements in episodic memory so pronounced that the researchers initially questioned the results. They replicated the study and found the same thing. Here is the biological reason. Your brain maintains plasticity, the ability to form new neural connections, far longer than scientists once believed, but it requires real challenge to do so. Familiar activities, even mentally engaging ones like crosswords, operate along established neural pathways, like driving a road you have driven 1,000 times. Genuinely new skills require your brain to build new roads. In that construction, something remarkable happens. The hippocampus, your brain's memory center, which begins shrinking at roughly 1 to 2% per year after age 60, shows measurable volume preservation and in some cases growth in response to novel learning. You cannot rely on your daily routine to provide this stimulus. Learn a language using a free app like Duolingo, take an online cooking class in an unfamiliar cuisine, pick up the ukulele, start watercolor painting, or join a local theater group. Take a beginner's class in something that makes you slightly nervous. That nervousness is the sensation of new neural pathways forming. One of my patients, James, 83, from Burlington, Vermont, started learning conversational Spanish at 79 because his granddaughter was studying abroad in Mexico. He told me at a recent visit that his memory for names, which had been slipping for years, had noticeably sharpened, his sleep had improved, and for the first time in years, he looked forward to mornings again. That is what novelty does. It does not just protect the brain. It restores a sense of aliveness and forward momentum that no supplement, no medication, and no other intervention can replicate. Here is what I want to leave you with today. Living alone does not have to mean living diminished. It does not have to mean risk, isolation, or a slow narrowing of your world. Every single item on this list was not a warning about decline. It was a map of specific, evidence-based, actionable changes that can compound over months and years into a life that is richer, safer, sharper, and more connected than you may have thought possible at this stage. The science is clear. It is never too late. Adults in their 80s and 90s who begin strength training build measurable muscle. Adults who embrace novel learning show brain changes within weeks. Adults who build better safety systems and social architectures experience genuinely better health outcomes, not eventually, but soon. Your independence is not something that simply fades with age. It is something you can architect and defend with knowledge, intention, and the willingness to do a few things differently. You deserve to feel safe in your home. You deserve to feel engaged, purposeful, and connected. And you deserve honest, research-backed information that empowers you to make real decisions rather than reassuring you with platitudes. All scientific references mentioned today are linked in the description below. Please review them, share them with your doctor, and bring your questions to your next appointment. If this added value to your life today, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. And tell me in the comments, which of these 12 things surprised you most, and which one are you going to work on first? I will be reading every response. Take care of yourself.